morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, guys. Welcome to the Full Hundreds, the first edition of this week. It is Monday, the 22nd of March, and it's been a pretty sunny day today in London anyway. I think across most of the country today, it's been a really beautiful. We've had beautiful weather today, guys. Today's show is addressing what many of you have seen on the news lately: the Asian Chinese racism gripping the US, instigated by the most evil ruler in our lifetime, Trump, and people like Trump. And we're going to address the issue today. Obviously, it's sad to see that sort of thing going on, and every one of us should stand up against it wherever we see it. However, on this show, I'm going to address the fact that just about a year ago, I aired a show regarding the Chinese who were victimizing Africans, especially who were living in China, blaming them for coronavirus, beating them, killing them, kicking them out of their homes, and I didn't see a lot of Asian Americans speak up. So guys, you know how we do on this show. We're going to bring the truth, and we're going to bring the naked truth, and we stand for what's right. You know, it's not right to see them going through what they're going through. However, you know, where were they when they should have spoken up at another wrong that was being done by their own people? So without further ado, guys, let's get down to today's show. Guys, the first clip I'm going to air on this, I recorded it weeks ago, about 4 weeks ago, even longer than that, because this thing's been going on. It's been creeping up on the news slowly and slowly and slowly. Obviously, it's hit the news big time now because of the 8 people that were killed last week in the 3 massage or beauty spas or whatever they were. So it's hit the news big time, but it's been on the news. You know, this first clip I'm going to air was the beginning of it. And like I said, that was about, not the beginning of it, but the beginning of it being a problem now. And so guys, look, before we go into a deep discussion about it, let me first play this first headline, and then I'm also going to play the second one, which is relating to the beauty spas. Okay, so guys, take a look at my first clip, and I'll see you all on the other side.
Coincides with the timing of the pandemic. From New York to California, Asian Americans have been verbally harassed, physically assaulted and stabbed. CNN's Amra Walker has our report.
He slashed me from cheek to cheek with a box cutter.
Noel Quintana was attacked on a packed subway in New York last month at the height of the morning rush hour.
There's really a lot of blood oozing. So I was so afraid because of the COVID-19.
According to Stop AAPI Hate, which tracks these kinds of attacks, there have been nearly 3,000 incidents against Asians reported across all 50 states since March last year. The Asian advocacy group says nearly all of them were unprovoked.
They told me to go back to China.
In Los Angeles, 27-year-old Denny Kim says he was punched in the face by 2 strangers. The LAPD investigating the case as a hate crime. On Thursday, police say a 36-year-old Asian man who was stabbed from behind in New York's Chinatown is now in critical condition. Although the NYPD said the suspect would be charged with a hate crime, no such charges have been filed. Andrew Yang, New York City Democratic mayoral hopeful, tells CNN that while former President Donald Trump's rhetoric may have fanned the flames of anti-Asian sentiment,
Kung flu.
Racism against Asians is nothing new. Some feel crimes against Asians need to be taken more seriously.
Welcome back, guys. So that, like I said, that's sort of like a background look into what Trump has done with his hate and his just lack of any sense, you know, and evilness is the only way. Because people like Trump, people like Farage caused immigrants here to suffer the same fate. When governments allow people like Farage and Trump to just spew their stuff and incite hate, that's what you get. So that has now led to this. Take a look at this.
Hi, Errol. What are we learning about how this all began and why?
Hey there, Tanya. Well, it's all very unnerving. Behind me, you see where this all began. It's Young's Asian Massage, and we're about a half-hour drive north of Atlanta. The suspect's home is a half-hour drive from here, and apparently he lives with his parents, who helped police ID him and ultimately capture him as he was driving south after the alleged shooting that he was a part of in Atlanta. And we also learned this morning that officials believe he was on his way to Florida. So as bad as this is, and it is horrific, it could have been much worse. More on the suspect, Robert Aaron Long, may have been living with his parents. We visited his home. There was no one there. But he told police that his motivation behind this was because he blames, this is a quote, blames the massage parlors for providing an outlet for his addiction to sex. And he admitted to being a patron of businesses like this. One thing that really has struck people is the fact that this appears to be, if the allegation is true, an outlet of rage that this 21-year-old had toward employees of businesses like this.
Welcome back. So that incident killed 8 people. 6 of them were Chinese females who worked at these establishments. Now, to me, that's a hate crime on 2 levels. If you go around hating women and kill women, that's a hate crime, gender hate crime. If you're a woman and you go about killing men because you hate men, that's a gender hate crime. So on that level alone, it's a hate crime. Then he picks on Asians, right? Not how many establishments do we know where all races work at? Whites. There are many establishments, I'm sure, in Georgia, in Atlanta, that is all whites working there. He didn't pick those. And yet the police, my next video will show you that at this point the police are still, they're taking the murderer's word for it. This is where we're at, my people. This is where we're at. Now, of course, I'm going to come to the issue of why the Asians, who are now speaking left, right and center, who are now suffering, why did they not speak up when their people were murdering, beating, disenfranchising blacks who were living in their country in China? Many of them African. I didn't hear them pick on any black British. There were many black British people living there, but I mean, where were they then? But that aside, for now, this is white supremacy again in action. And I'm going to show you another clip at the end, how white supremacists, racists, sound exactly the same. And we've been crying about this for so many years, from Trayvon Martin to all of them. They get the killers get excused. Now the Asians are seeing it and feeling it, because many of them were angered by the next video I'm going to show you now. And this police captain has been sidelined, but they said, oh, he no longer speaks for the Atlanta police force. We've taken him off being our press officer. So guys, take a look at white supremacy at its worst. What this officer said about these basically about the murders. Take a look.
He claims that these, and as the chief said, this is still early, but he does claim that it was not racially motivated. He apparently has an issue, what he considers a sex addiction, and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places, and it's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate. Pretty much fed up at the end of his rope, and yesterday was a really bad day for him, and this is what he did.
Remorseful?
I'm not going to go to. I don't know if he was remorseful or not.
Let me tell you guys something that's not on there. It turns out that officer, on the police's social media page, the official social media page, yeah, right? Apparently last year they were selling these T-shirts. Trump supporters, whoever, was selling these T-shirts saying Chinese flu or whatever. He advertised those T-shirts on the official police platform. It was that and the anger from the Chinese community when he said this guy's having a bad day that made them remove him from those duties. But he's still in the police force. Now, tell me something. Do you think it would be far-fetched if they sat down with him, all white cops with this white guy, and said, look, just say it was sex addiction. Just say it was sex addiction. Just say it wasn't hate, like you didn't pick on them, it wasn't racism. Is it far-fetched that they might have schooled him during the interview? Hell no. That's not far-fetched. Because they were too willing and too quick to accept what this guy says. You know, they're taking the word of a killer. When have you ever heard that? He was in court last week, Friday or Thursday, and the judge has asked to look into his mental health. Oh gosh, let's look into his mental health. This is white privilege at play. But for the first time, the Chinese are seeing what we've been crying about. What Muslims have been crying about. Yeah? So guys, look. Last year, on the 17th of April, 2020, I put out a video. And I'm going to show you guys a clip of that video. How angry I was last year, just under a year ago, right? Nearly a year ago now, with the anger I had. My video actually got taken down because I showed a clip of a black man being beaten to a pulp by 6, 7, 8 people with baseball bats, being hammered, begging for his life. YouTube put that video down, so I had to repost the video without that actual clip. So I'm not going to put that clip on here again, because this video might get taken down. But where were the Chinese Americans? Where were the British Chinese? Where were the European Chinese? Where were they, the action group, saying, no, my people back home, don't do that, don't pick on these people, it's not right. No, they kept shut, they kept quiet. They kept quiet. Now they want the world to talk up for them. Yes, the world should talk up for them. But I hope they learn a bloody lesson from this and understand racism is against all of us. And until we all stand up against white supremacy, none of us is good. None of us is cool. Yeah? Take a look at how I felt, or what I aired this times last year, when the baseball bat was on the other hand. Take a look. The Chinese started SARS. The Chinese started bird flu, which is SARS, sorry, beg your pardon. The Chinese started this now. The Chinese have started near enough every nasty piece of virus that killed how many millions now? The Chinese, for God's sake, the Chinese flu, I'm not calling it the Spanish flu no more. The Chinese flu in 1920 killed 50 million. So far, they've infected over 2 million with this stuff. Do you know that these same people are killing my fellow African people? They're killing fellow black people. They're blaming this on them. Let me show you a few headlines. Have a look at these. Welcome back, guys. To be fair, that video, my number one beef was with African nations and African leaders. They all sat quiet as well. None of them did nothing. None of them sent planes to rescue Africans. I gave the example of Europe. At the time, European planes were bringing back Canadians stuck abroad. American planes were bringing back EU nationals stuck abroad. And I gave the example, what is wrong with you African leaders? So my first beef, to be fair, in that situation last year was with African leaders. However, you can now see that when something like this happens, we should all speak up, because you just never know when the tables might turn on you. So guys, look. My next and last video will show you exactly what white supremacists do at a time like this. They're under pressure with Biden in power. Biden's going after white nationalists, white supremacists, racist pigs. Yeah? Biden's going after them. The FBI is switching and they're going after them. They're classing them. So now the right-wing press and the right-wing media they denied it anyway before. No, it's not like they've just started denying it, but they're on high gear now. They're talking about the racist pigs we saw on January 6th were not insurrectionists. They weren't racists. So now the Chinese issues come up, and I've put 2 videos back to back. One was from months ago or from January, which I never aired. I never used it. And it just so happens we've got the same guy, Tucker Carlson, one of the most despicable people on TV. And I've added the two videos together so you see exactly what these people do. Take a look at this.
There's no evidence that white supremacists were responsible for what happened on January 6th. That's a lie. So the guy's accused of murdering 8 people, and all the questions were about race. Okay. But notice, it's the politicians who jump in immediately to divide the country along racial lines. Vivek Ramaswamy has thought a lot about this. He's the author of the book Woke Inc., and he joins us tonight. Vivek, thanks so much for coming on. So you've been hearing this, this is such a sad story, a horrible story, but it's part of a much bigger story we've been told for the past couple of weeks, that these very real attacks against Asian Americans are somehow a product of white supremacy. I don't think there's any evidence whatsoever to support that. In fact, I think it's kind of the opposite of the truth. Why do they keep telling us that?
Deny, deny, deny. It's all they ever do. No, you're imagining it. Racism doesn't exist. No, you're imagining it. Those guys, they weren't racist. No, you're imagining this ain't a hate crime. They just, the guy's just a sex addict. It's what they always do, guys. Let this be a warning and a lesson. If you're in a mixed, if you got any kind of mix in your family, you might be pure white. If your daughter or your son is married to a Chinese, married to an Arab, married to a black person, you might be Chinese. If your child is married to a white person, or you're married to someone of another, if you're mixed in any kind of shape or form, first and foremost, we must be a team against these evil people like Tucker Carlson, people like that captain that you saw, people like Nigel Farage, people like Tommy Robinson, people like Donald Trump, and all of these other racist pigs out there. The Conservative Party. It's time we speak as one, because you just never know when that boot will be on the other foot and you're the victim. When you see other people getting victimized, don't sit back and think, oh, well, it's just blacks being victimized. I'm Chinese, I'm all right. Or you see Muslims being victimized and think, oh, well, it's Muslims, I'm Christian, I'm black, I'm good. We're not good until every one of these pigs is eliminated. Guys, that's the end of the show. Look, I mean everything I said on there. It's bad what's happening to them. I feel it for them. But I also felt it for my African people who were suffering under them this time last year. It's what we must do. We must have empathy for who's under the cosh. Guys, if you like what we do, please hit subscribe. More importantly, share and like, and hit subscribe when you finish watching this. I'll see you all on Wednesday for my next installment. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.